loves. So welcome to day number 7 of Vlogmas. Tis the season for runny noses, sore throats, and lots of sniffles. You cannot have a Caribbean Christmas without a cold. I don't know what it is. So our temperatures here are very hot year-round. And I say that relative to those of you who have like -5-degree weather. We never have that type of weather. It is always around 23. I want to say 23 degrees Celsius here. So it is hot. But in the evenings, we do get what's called the Christmas chill. So lots of breeze at the evening times, which makes it feel quite chilly. And with that Christmas breeze often comes the flu. At this time of year, so many people on this island are down with or fighting off the flu. Despite my best efforts over the course of this week, the flu seems to be winning, and so I'm down and out today. I'm actually stuck in my bed eating soup. So this is what I'm having. It is actually 9:55 in the morning and I'm already eating soup. Now, Caribbean people love a good soup, you guys. And usually there's lots of things in the soup, like chicken and ground provisions, sweet potatoes, tanya seed, dashing. Some people put turkey neck or pork or other types of meat in with the chicken. I don't do any of those things. And I don't like ground provisions. So my husband took out a bowl of soup for me and he just put the soup itself and just some dumplings. I don't really have much of an appetite, but I figured I needed to eat something, and this seemed to have been my best bet. So just a little bit of the actual soup and some dumplings, and then I'll have a cup of tea. I'm hoping I can actually get myself some fever grass today. Now, fever grass is a type of bush. In other places, you might know it as lemongrass. You can go to the store, I think, and buy the little sachets of herbal tea, like lemongrass or whatever. But here, we can get it right out of the backyard. Now, we did have a tiny pot of fever grass somewhere in the backyard. I'm going to see if it's still standing. If not, I'll take a quick walk up the road, or maybe I'll just send hubby to see if he can find me some fever grass, and then I'll probably prepare some of that and have myself a hot cup of tea. But for now, I'm going to make do with my soup. So for plans for today, I think I'm probably likely to be stuck in bed all day. I'm going to catch up on some of Vlogmas from some of my other favorite YouTubers. So I do have my laptop in front of me. So I'm going to eat now and binge watch some Vlogmas. And then I'll check back in with you guys later because I still do need to do my tin today. So that's it for now. See you guys later. Hey friends, so I'm back. It is now 1:24. And I finally dragged my sorry behind out of bed. So I did get up and shower this morning and that sort of thing. But then I went back to lay down as I told you I would, and I watched a couple of Vlogmas videos, and then I fell asleep. And it was much needed rest. But I figured it's time for me to get up out of the bed. You know, my mother used to say the bed will hold you down. Like when you're sick, if you allow yourself to stay in bed, your body won't think about healing. I don't know if it ever made sense, but maybe it does make sense. So I have gotten up. I'm not going to do anything too strenuous today. I'm probably going to end back up in bed in a little while, to be fair. But for the minute, I've got with me this pattern right here. This is a PDF pattern. We spoke about PDF or printed patterns, was it yesterday or the day before? Sometime recently enough. And I have gone ahead and printed off the Helen's Closet Sam apron. So I printed this pattern before, actually. And this was one of the very few patterns that I printed off in a specific size. I didn't think I would ever need to make a smaller size. But no, my daughter has specifically requested an apron. And she doesn't want a cutesy apron, if that makes sense. She wants a basic apron. I am probably going to cutesify it just a little bit, but I chose the Sam apron because it is just that, a very regular basic apron. There's lots of room for hacking it if necessary. The pockets can be changed, frills can be added and that sort of thing. But I'm going to try to at least honor her wishes by starting off with a basic apron. I don't know if that is how it will end up in the end, but alas, we have it. So I'm actually going to trim these pages. Let me just show you. Maybe I should turn the camera around so you can see a little bit better. So this pattern has a border, as you can see. If you are unfamiliar with PDF patterns, you can see the trim. It also has a kink because it was in my work bag, but it is what it is. So I need to go ahead and trim off. I usually trim off the bottom and up the right hand side of every page so that I can assemble this pattern. As I'm doing that, I'm actually going to draw for my handy dandy cookie tin over there so that I can pull out today's question of the day and sort of multitask. So let me just grab the tin and let us see which question we are going to choose for today. Drum roll, please. This one. So today's question is, sew in quiet or sew with noise? So you guys leave me a comment down below and let me know, what is your preference? Are you guys sewing in silence, or do you have some sort of stimulus around you whilst you're sewing? All right. So when it comes to sewing in silence or sewing with noise, I don't really have a preference. It really just depends on how I'm feeling on any given day. And it also depends on what happens to be going on in my household or in my community on any given day. So some days I quite like silence. Today is one such day. It is very quiet in the neighborhood. Occasionally I can hear a cock crowing. I can hear birds chirping. I can hear the breeze rustling through the trees outside my window. And sometimes I find just those noises to be very comforting, not too intrusive. And it gives me an opportunity to do what I'm doing and get lost in what I'm doing. Other days, my kids won't let me be. And they can sometimes be noisy as hell. Oh, goodness. And I spend so much time in a day saying, stop that. Don't do that. Move that. Put down that. Go away. It's crazy. Especially when they are both together. And even more so when they're not allowed to have screen time. So people have lots of different views on screen time. And sometimes, to be honest, you guys, I give my kids both of their tablets and tell them go sit in a corner, because that allows me to have a little bit of quiet while I'm sewing. Granted, I can probably still hear the sounds of Cocomelon or whatever it is they happen to be watching, but I guess you understand what I'm saying. It's not the constant screaming and the complaining and the tugging that sometimes comes with them being in the same space. They do have their days when they're nice and quiet and they play quite admirably with one another. I just wish those days were more often. Other days, I am able, by God's grace, to tune them out, and I quite like popping on YouTube videos. So that is my time when I get caught up. Like, for example, when I'm doing a task such as this, that doesn't require much thinking, I can pop on my favorite YouTubers and get caught up with some of the videos that I have missed throughout the week. And I like to do that sometimes when I'm sewing. Very occasionally, I might put on a movie or one of my favorite shows like Chicago PD or Law and Order SUV and have it playing whilst I am sewing or doing sewing related activities. Now, if you sew, you know that sewing is just like 10% of your time spent at the sewing machine. There's so much prep work to be done, like putting together your PDFs or working with your printed patterns, lots of time spent ironing my fabrics before I even cut into them, that sort of thing. And during those times, I quite like to put on a show. Other times, very rarely, I will actually put on music. That is because what I'm listening to is sometimes not appropriate for little ears, and even when you think they're not paying attention, they are. And when I put my headphones on or my earphones in, then it has a noise cancelling feature, and I sort of get really lost in my music. And that is not always a good idea when there are little kids around, because I do like to have one ear to the ground, just so I can keep abreast, as it were, of the mischief that they can sometimes get themselves up to. And it is those times when they think I'm paying no attention at all that the devil seems to find work for idle hands. So I very rarely listen to music at that time. I do listen to gospel music quite a bit though. But even still, I like to have one ear to the ground. So I much prefer to have my iPad on. And I don't get the same sense of joy listening to music on my iPad as I do listening to music on my iPad speakers as I do listening to music in my headphones or my earphones. So if you're a music lover, then you know exactly what I mean. So yeah, now let me know in the comment section down below, what is your preference? Are you like me and it just depends on the day and what you're doing? Or do you have a preference either way? Just sewing in silence if you have a sewing room and you can go in and shut the door? Do you like to just get lost in the sounds of the scissors slicing through paper or through fabric, or the sounds of your machines? Or do you like listening to podcasts or movies or TV shows or YouTube videos or anything else? Leave me a comment down below and let me know what your preferences are. So I am going to get back to cutting out the rest of this pattern and then piecing it together. And I'm pretty sure after I get that done, then I'm going to press pause for the minute, grab a cup of tea, and probably head back to bed for a little while longer. Right, so my pattern has been assembled. It spans almost the entire length of my cutting table. So now I need to go in and trim off all of the excess. For example, this piece right here is a pocket. These are the two guidelines based on size. So I need to go and trim it out. And then underneath, we have the actual apron pattern piece. I need to remeasure my daughter just to make sure I am cutting out the right size. And once that is done, we can think about choosing some fabric. But I have definitely done enough for today. So I think it's time for a cup of tea and back to bed. So hopefully I will check in with you guys again later. All right, my lovelies. So I'm back up. I've had another shower. And I'm heading to the second favorite place in the house. You guessed it. My kitchen. So I really had intentions of showing you guys the fever grass, but hubby came in. I asked him to go get it for me. He got it and he put it to boil, and I didn't get to document any of it. But I am going to show you what it looks like now in the pot. So just a sec, let me turn the camera around. So this is my fever grass tea. That bundle that you can see there is actually the fever grass. So when you pick it, it obviously doesn't look like this. But there is a way to wrap it up so that it's easier to put in the pot and easier to boil. You guys would not believe me if I told you that after all of these years, my entire life of being an islander, I don't know how to wrap fever grass bush. So I always have to depend on my hubby to do it. Otherwise, I just throw it in the pot. And it's sort of long, almost like linguine or fettuccine, but even longer. So it wraps around the pot like that when I put it in. That is not the right way. If there is such a right way of putting down bush tea, this is the right way. So I'm going to have a cup. Now this has been freshly brewed, so you can see that it is kind of translucent. You can kind of see through it. Now the longer it sits in the pot, the darker the color will get. I'll try to remember to come back and show you guys what it looks like a little bit later. But if not, you can imagine that this gets a little bit darker. Not too much darker, but it does get darker over time. Now some of you might know that as lemongrass. I think it's called lemongrass in some places. But as I said before, it is known as fever grass here. And I'm thinking there is probably some colloquial reason why it's called fever grass. At the top of my head, I want to say it's because you drink it when you have a fever. And it's supposed to help cut fevers and colds and flus and all that thing. So maybe that's why it's called fever grass. But do not quote me on that. So I'm going to pour myself a cup of tea. And then I'm going to add just a drop of honey and a drop of lime juice to my tea. So I'm going to do that now and then head straight back to bed. Like, do not stop. Do not pass go. Straight back to bed. So just in case you don't see me for the rest of the night, thank you so much for joining me for episode 7 of Vlogmas. And I'm hoping that tomorrow for episode 8, I will feel 100 times better than I do today. And we can get back to having some fun. Because, you guys, my Christmas tree is still up in the corner. And she is not dressed. I have gotten the top of the tree fixed. I don't know what my husband did to it, but it's standing again. But I really do need to dress it, and I really do need to do something with my curtains. Look at what my husband did to my curtains today, you guys. Look at this. Oh my God. Anyways, I guess he wanted some light in the house or whatever, so they are pretty dark. Another thing that I need to give my husband a blight for. Tying up my freaking curtains. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me for another episode. Until next time, you guys, stay calm, stay cool, stay safe, and absolutely keep watching Vlogmas. Peace.